back to another election edition of Meet Victoria with Caleb Shaw, powered by ThriveFuel Digital Marketing. We're pumped. We're ready to go. For those that don't know, early voting is February 14th through the 25th, and Election Day is March 1st. So, without further ado, I've got a candidate here with me that I'm just going to let introduce himself, and let's just rock and roll and get this started. My friend, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself.
My name's Kenneth Sexton. I'm born and raised native from Victoria, Texas. I'm a self-employed small businessman. I've worked for myself for 17 years going on now.
Yes, sir. And you are running for Victoria County Commissioner Precinct 4.
I'm running for County Commissioner Precinct 4, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So before we get into that, because I got a million questions for you there too, but tell me a little bit about yourself. What made you just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I think I'm going to toss my hat in the ring and run for office here?
I didn't really wake up one morning and decide that. I've been kicking it for at least 2 years, wanting to do this. I have a lot of concerns in local government. I want to be involved. My mom and dad were in the school system for over 30 years, and my dad was always involved in stuff, and I kind of get that from him. I feel like I have a lot that I can bring to the court from my business ethics and background.
Yes, sir.
And that's kind of where it started, and then it's kind of snowballed from there.
Gotcha. So what I'd like to get is kind of what do you see as the role of a county commissioner?
As far as my perspective, I see, of course, the normal job of roads, bridge, taking care of your precinct, making sure that everything is, tax dollars are spent wisely in the precinct. But I'm a little bit more outside the box. I want to more or less help Victoria County. I want to play a role on the court in Victoria County. I want to work with the city council more, work with the port more. I want to grow Victoria County. And I feel like the court needs to be a part of that. I don't feel like right now there's a good communication between city council and county government. And we need to get together and start working together to make Victoria as a whole a better place.
Yes, sir. And I've heard there's not that perfect working relationship, and I would also say that the public, myself included to a degree, are somewhat ignorant between, what is city and what is council and city council and county commissioners and how do they work together and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I think those are good points, and everything would always work better if everybody was on the same page and working parallel to each other instead of stepping on toes.
Certainly.
What are your top priorities as a candidate? Do you have any?
Yes. First of all, when I get in office, one thing I want to do is address our major drainage issues in Precinct 4. And to getting that done, I'm going to work with TxDOT. I'm going to work with landowners to try to get some. We do have some drainage issues, and after that, I'm really concentrating on bringing a new face, transparency to the court.
Yes, sir.
To bring my business ethics and skills to it and help move the court forward. I feel like it's time for a new face and a new direction.
Yes, sir. Do you see yourself as a smaller, lean and mean type of government, or are you more about let's grow the government to help the people? I'm
not a big government person. I don't feel like we need to grow the government to do that. I feel like where we are is fine. We just need more interaction. We need more people that we have in place working better together. Yes, sir.
Hurricane Harvey was a deal that I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned from Hurricane Harvey and from everybody that was involved in that city all the way to county.
Certainly.
I know Victoria County, that was one of the things that there was some controversy, a potential controversy about Hurricane Harvey funds and stuff. Do you have any opinion on that or anything that along those lines are you just pushing for transparency?
I'm pushing for transparency. I don't feel like transparency was done in that particular situation. I don't really feel like laws were followed as far as, I'm not saying anybody broke it, I'm just saying standards were followed as far as how to get bids and how to go about getting that done. There should have been a construction coordinator hired to oversee this whole deal with the amount of money and the jobs. So I think it's a big issue.
Yes, sir.
I had a big problem with it back then, and in all honesty, that's what opened my eyes up to wanting to be a commissioner.
Roger that. Are the issues that you see, and I understand that you are not the incumbent. You are on the outside looking in. So your amount of intel is limited to that perspective. You don't have access to everything.
Right.
But being on the outside, do you feel like, hey, I could fix the issues that I think that there's problems with, regarding transparency? Do you think that that's something that you're able to overcome and,
certainly,
and you could fix that?
Certainly, I know I will, because that's what I said before, is that I'm going to be on the court for the people. My cell phone number will be listed, my email will be listed. I will be anybody will be able to get in touch with me anytime. When it comes to the court, whenever we make hard decisions, and we're going to have to make some hard business decisions, everybody's going to know what and why. You're not going to find out 6 months later, things like that. It's going to be there.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. Border right now is one of the hot topics, is border crossings, illegal border crossings are at an all-time high. We're seeing bailouts way too often around here. Our county, our law enforcement is stretched thin. Their budgets are stretched thin. What do we do, or what do you see as a county commissioner that you could do to help secure our borders, but also to help our law enforcement who are boots on the ground fighting this to make sure that they have what they need when the federal government isn't helping us?
I certainly, support local government and the sheriff's department. I feel like we will need to support them any role, commissioner-wise, court-wise, financially, or other. They have a good budgets given to them to work, and any problems or issues that anytime the sheriff will be able to address myself and hopefully the court, open-handedly.
Roger that.
I'm kind of in tune with the border thing. We have a ranch down South Texas, and we've been victims of it.
Yes,
we've
sir.
had a lot of damage from that, so it's something pretty passionate about.
Well, to me, if you can't protect your borders, and you've
Certainly.
got problems, that's major problems.
Right. It's just so tough because I don't think our government in D.C. is on board with it. So
yes, sir. Now, the next area I want to talk very briefly about animal control here. Animal control is kind of the redheaded stepchild that has been kind of floating in the background, kind of causing grief for everybody across the board. Now, I do want to give credit where credit is due. I think David Gonzalez at the health department is trying, and I think he's doing his best, but he's focusing on COVID because he's the health director. And so I know that there's conversations behind the scenes happening where they're trying to work towards some kind of goal. My humble little opinion is I think that the biggest issue that we have is no enforcement mechanisms, and because animal control falls under the health department instead of under law enforcement as it does in most communities. So we have no teeth to anything, and we have no officers that can go out and actually do anything for the most part. And then it becomes a scarecrow effect where the city's pointing at the county and the county's pointing at the city and everybody. But in the meanwhile, the animal control is what suffers. Would you be open, and I want to try to get everybody on record, to trying to fix animal control? That is something that I think if we could get everybody on the same page, I think we all want the same thing. It's just a matter of getting there. But it's going to require focused effort to make it happen. And I guess I'd like to hear your thoughts if you're open to that and open to
Certainly,
trying to fix animal control.
Right. Because along with my other goals is I have animal control is definitely one of them. I feel like there needs to be a lot of change. This kind of goes in with communicating with city council, because the city, county, out everything, the facilities out in the county. I have not been to the facility. I want to go. I've heard plenty. I know the ups and downs. The director of the health department has his hands full. In my opinion, and I will push for it, is that I feel like sheriff's department needs to be over animal control. I don't feel like the health department should. I think the gentleman that runs the health department is doing an unbelievable, amazing job.
I do too.
But he can't cover a pandemic in Victoria County and wonder what's going on with animals. There are so many people in Victoria passionate about this.
Yes, sir.
And I'm certainly on board with it.
Well, that's great to hear, because I'll be the first to admit the rescue community, we can be a little crazy, we can be a little wild, and we can be a little bit annoying.
Certainly.
But that said, we have some amazing people in this town that I think if the city and the county and animal control and everybody could get on the same page, I think you guys would find the outpouring of support would blow everybody's mind.
Well, to me, it just goes back to the leadership.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think on city council it's there. I think we have the most forward-thinking city council and mayor that we've had in a long time. It needs to be on the court. It needs to be working in conjunction with each other to make this happen, because it is a very big and very passionate thing, and I am passionate about it as well.
Yes, sir. And I to button that question, I do just to piggyback, I want to say David Gonzalez again at the health department. Since he's taken that over, that man has called me countless. He's trying, but every time he takes like half a step forward, then this whole COVID upswing just knocks him right back on his rear end.
Health department should not be over animal control.
Yes, sir. And so I say those criticisms to help, but not to throw rocks at people.
Certainly.
And so.
And I'm sure he understands that.
Yes, sir.
It's a position. So,
yes, sir. And he's been good about it. So
He's been wonderful. He's done a great
appreciate
job.
him. This is kind of a personal item for me that I'd like to hear your thoughts on. one of the things that I just see people as a real estate broker here in town, they're getting killed on their property taxes. You know, assessments are through the roof. And Victoria seems to have like this weird thing of like they can tax their way into prosperity to me. And, you know, we're a city that's approximately 68% conservative, yet I would argue that our city council, our school board, our chamber, and a lot of other places, they vote left. And they vote, you know, there hasn't been a tax increase in the last 12 years that I can put my finger on that any of the Republican or fiscal conservatives voted against or any of that, you know. And so what I would, you know, what are your thoughts on a consumption tax versus property taxes? Because I have a real issue with property taxes because you never own your home. You're renting it from the government, and the property owners pay. And a consumption tax, I can hold my nose for because everybody's paying. If the local drug dealer decides to go down and buy something, he's paying as well as everybody else. And people actually truly own their homes. I know that's a giant can of worms. I know that's a big conversation. But is it one you're willing to have? Because I just think that property owners are getting killed. And I don't know how to protect them.
I do. That's a conversation I'd love to have. You know, I mean, I know that those decisions a lot of times come on a state level, but they affect us all here. I need to educate myself some more on between the consumption and the, you know, and the property taxes we pay.
Yes, sir.
But it's just like with me, I'm open-minded to it. Anything that's going to be better for the citizens of Victoria County, I'm for.
Roger that.
You know.
Yes, sir. No, that's a good one. Vaccine and COVID mandates, vaccine and you know, these shutting it down and all this kind of stuff. I'm not pro or anti-vaccine, but I am anti-vaccine mandate. I don't like mandates from the government just about for anything. I didn't like the lockdowns. I don't like the mandates. Where do you fall on those?
Same. I didn't agree with any of the mandates, and I don't feel like they should make us do anything. We live in a free country, you know, and I feel like if it's your choice, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't. I mean, the lockdowns to me at some point, I guess, they were just trying to stop and spread it. But, you know, if they did one thing and didn't do the other, then they could have got blamed. I just don't like the fact that they were trying to tell, and I still don't like the fact that they're trying to tell people what to do, that they have to get the vaccine, you know, or that you have to do this. I was against wearing the mask. I am vaccinated. I did get vaccinated, but I thought the mask, unless you had the medical N95, I didn't understand what good it did.
You mean that bandana wasn't working?
Yeah,
People just wearing a bandana?
And I fortunately have not gotten it, so, you know, from the other strains. So.
Outstanding. Well, no, that's great. County budget. Now, again, I understand you are on the outside. You're not on the inside yet, and so you're not privy to everything. Correct. But regarding the county budget, is there pork or areas that you see that can be leaned up or to reduce the burden on taxpayers, or do you think they're pretty lean, mean, and efficient? I
think I haven't gone through the whole budget. I've gone through quite a bit about it. The budget is very heavy law enforcement, which is good. There's areas that I think could get cut back. I'm not into it enough. I have been studying the budget, but I'm not into it enough to be able to come out and say, yeah, I think this part is, because I don't know the whole story. I do see some places that I think, to me, are top heavy, but I don't know the whole background behind it.
That's a fair answer.
So when I look into it more, certainly, I do think there's some areas.
Yes, sir. Before we wrap up, is there anything I'm forgetting or anything that you would like to touch on before I wrap this up here?
No, I think I appreciate the questions. I do.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. For those that want to follow your campaign or if they want to reach out to you, how do they find you?
You can call me. My mobile phone number is 361-550-1809. I'm on Facebook, KennethForVictoria.com. Well, that's my website.
Yes, sir.
And then I'm on Facebook, Kenneth for Victoria.
Roger that.
At Victoria, yes. At Kenneth for Victoria.
Gotcha. Track it.
Facebook.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much. You know, these elections are an intrusion into your time. It's time away from your family. It's time that you have to come on and talk to people like me and go do all this crazy, you know, you go from a quiet life to all of a sudden got cameras on you and everybody got questions. And,
right.
But I appreciate it. And,
I do too. I appreciate being able to come on.
Yes, sir. And I'm grateful to everyone that tosses their hat in the ring, whether you win or whether you lose. I'm grateful that you stepped up and you answered the call and you were willing to run. And so thank you so much for your time. Guys, one more time, early voting is February 14th through the 25th. Election day is March 1st. Kenneth Sexton, Victoria County Commissioner, Precinct 4 candidate. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the next one.